Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have another interesting solution from the CRM community. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my quick intro. Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP CRM digital transformation consulting and analyst firm. On that note, Dave, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Crysler, and I own an operations consulting business, working with leaders, helping them to optimize their operations and to come to you with more than 25 years of various operational leadership roles and responsibilities. So excited to be here with you guys.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Shrestha, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name is Shrestha Dash, and I'm part of the marketing team at Elevate IQ. And I'm super excited to be here today and learn more about Brevo.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, both of you. And if you're in the audience joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions, comments. We are always looking for that three-way conversation. So if you have any sort of relevant experiences with Brevo, we'd love to hear those. We generally utilize them as part of our reviews. So again, super excited to start here. So guys, I'm going to start with the quick briefing of Brevo and overall, from the category alignment perspective, Dave, Shrestha, I know that you guys have done a lot of these sessions now. For this year, I guess. I mean, we have covered many of them, including a lot of them in the HCM bucket, I guess, in the supply chain bucket. And then this is sort of the CRM bucket. This falls under that. Overarchingly speaking, from the CRM perspective, there are many things that we touch on, overall from the bucket perspective. CRM generally, if you look at the mainstream CRM systems, they are going to have three different pillars as part of the solution. Generally, they are going to be sales cloud, marketing cloud, customer service cloud, depending upon how thick the category is, how enterprise the solution is. So that is one layer of differentiation between these CRM systems. The other layer of differentiation that we have seen among these CRM systems is going to be the whole upstream versus downstream. Upstream is going to be slightly more marketing automation centric capabilities. The downstream is going to be the operational, and operational does not mean ERP type operation. This is going to be more of the sales and marketing operations. All of these touch points are still going to be very customer facing. And then the other layer that we have is slightly more B2C versus B2B. Generally, B2C centric CRMs have much tighter alignment with a lot of different e-commerce providers. The kind of integrations that you are going to find are going to be very different in those CRM systems. The B2B CRM systems are going to be natively different. They are not going to have alignment with tools such as Shopify. So if you don't find those integrations as well as workflows in those tools, most likely you are probably going to use or using an incorrect tool. You probably should be looking for the right tool. Couple of things if you are joining for the first time. Overall, how we approach these sessions. For the most part, we utilize several different content sources, mostly public information, and the first source that we always like to utilize is going to be slightly more the financial, which is where the truth lies. Marketing hype could be sometimes misleading or confusing. So that's why our main source always is going to be, if it is going to be a public company, then we go by the financial statements in terms of what is printed there, because that is the information that is printed for investors. So companies are slightly more careful there, I would say, because of the legal obligations. Now, the other things that we like to utilize is the historical news stories in terms of what kind of PR campaigns that they have done in the past and how they have positioned, if they have made any sort of changes. And that typically tells us, what has been their focus and how their focus is going to be in the future. Generally, that have some sort of correlation with respect to the direction of the solution as well. So for this solution, we do have historical news stories. So we are going to go over them. Then we go over vendor comparison pages. In this case, we could find product design analysis. We'll spend some time there. User documentation, user communities. Generally, there you are going to have slightly more technical information. So we try to connect dots with these sources in terms of whether marketing is sort of aligned with the product design as well as the user documentation. And then finally, any sort of product updates that they have done, generally you would find slightly more credible information there. It's not going to be as much marketing hype because that is written by technical people. And they like to be slightly more reserved, I guess. I don't know if that is the right term that I could use. And then finally, we have the Reddit threads as well as the user reviews. So these are some of the content sources that we have utilized even for this review. Now, coming back to Brevo. So overall, I guess their positioning, and again, touching on all of those layers that I was trying to describe in the beginning. So here, this is going to be slightly more B2C email marketing platform. And one more layer that I want to touch on the B2C email marketing platform. Generally, the pricing is going to be slightly friendlier with B2C. And the reason for that is because you are sending a lot of emails. Generally, the deal size that you're going to have is going to be probably very low. Think of this as you are buying a $10 product from a brand that is probably hosted in Shopify, and at every touch when you are placing the order. So let's say if you are sending 5 emails, that's 5, okay? And then let's say if you have 100,000 customers and they each are buying every month, that could be a lot of emails. And if you have, for example, let's say if you go to any of the B2B centric platforms, then what is going to happen is they are going to charge a lot because their deal size is different, their interaction is different, so their pricing model is going to be very different. If you are going to be in the B2C segment, you should be utilizing a B2C tool. Otherwise, you are going to find a lot of surprises. Overall, from the B2C, B2B segmentation perspective, and obviously we are going to touch on these competing technologies as well. But for the most part, MailChimps of the world, Klaviyo's of the world, Brevos of the world, they are designed slightly more for B2C workflows. When it comes to B2B, that's going to be your HubSpots of the world. Now, there are going to be some tools that are going to be sort of all over the place. ActiveCampaign, in my mind, is primarily designed for B2C, but they do have some B2B centric exposure. And there are going to be business models where B2C and B2B both are going to be common, and that's what we had seen with ActiveCampaign as well. Those are the industries where they are very strong fit. Now, Zoho is primarily sort of B2B. They are primarily service. They do some commerce as well, but for the most part, they are B2B. So that's the kind of differentiation. The other layer that you need to keep in mind between your B2C versus B2B is going to be the whole concept of CDP. Now, CDP is not going to be relevant with your B2B workflows. You don't have CDP. You don't need CDP, for that, because here with CDP, you are trying to identify any of the anonymous visitors. I would say with B2B, your relationship is going to be far stronger. And as far as my understanding goes, I don't think we have seen any sort of CDP-centric architecture in the B2B space. HubSpot is probably going to be one of the go-to tool for B2B, and there's not much of a play for CDP. So that's going to be another alignment. And most of the B2C-centric platforms, they already have a CDP incorporated. Now, when you look at Brevo, that's much lighter tool compared to your Klaviyo. The Klaviyo is going to be much more expensive because they have much higher capabilities. Brevo is going to be much lighter, and that's why they are going to have much lighter CDP as well. CDP itself is a category, and that could be very, very, very thick when you go deep into that, because there are like millions of data sets that they are trying to sort of overlay and trying to identify, okay, what can I do from the consumer perspective, and how can I drive them? So when you look into these enterprise CRM workflows, CX workflows, that's where your CDP is going to be really relevant, and you can do a lot as a marketer in those spaces. So here, this is a very light tool, I would say. In my mind, this is probably going to be the right comparison here is probably going to be MailChimp, for Brevo, and that's how you should be comparing. So here, one more point that I want to touch on this is they used to be called Sendinblue, but they have changed their brand, so now they are called Brevo.
Hey Sam, do you know didn't this platform start off more as kind of the back end? Because from what I recall, the Sendinblue when it originally launched was more of kind of back to your point earlier about being more B2C focused in the volume of emails that get sent. I always took Sendinblue as one of those kind of background infrastructure pieces, kind of like SendGrid.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. I mean, hopefully you are not conflating that with SendGrid, but I mean, you mentioned SendGrid, so
Yeah, and maybe it was separate, and I got them confused. I was just curious if you had any clarity around that,
no.
because again, maybe I was mixing the two of them.
Yeah, so I guess SendGrid in my mind is definitely a technical infrastructure. It's not meant to be a marketing automation tool. This is a real marketing automation tool. I don't know what they utilize in the backend. For the most part, they are probably going to use SendGrid, for emails. But this is definitely the marketing automation tool. And we'll look at their background. I think some of these tools. Every geo had at least one leading tool, right? And now everybody's targeting pretty much everything, right? So I think these guys were predominant in Europe, and now they are selling a lot more in North America as well. So that's where I guess the major focus is. But we'll review their detailed commentary as well. But for the most part, I think they were doing really good in Europe. Klaviyo was here. That is sort of North American tool. But now these guys are selling here as well.
Got it.
Yeah. Here, yeah, and I think we have a comment here, right? They had presence in Europe before, it was sort of the North America and Europe divide, but that's not anymore. And these guys are very well funded as well. We'll look at their funding too, in terms of who has funded and what their priorities are. I think their priority is North America right now. Okay, so overall, I guess from the industry perspective, so these guys are present in e-commerce, retail. They have a little bit of B2C subscriptions as well, and that's where I guess even Klaviyo was present. So very, very, very similar offering as Klaviyo, but overall from the layers perspective, it's going to be slightly more on a lighter side, and that's why the pricing is going to be slightly friendlier as well. If you guys don't have any other comments, I'll keep moving here. Okay, so Dave, I don't think that you have seen this. Okay, so we have made some changes. So now we are providing the real comparison. I think that's what people would care for. So we have the real, pros and cons for the major category. I would say, that is going to be comparable to Brevo. So if you are utilizing or comparing Brevo, evaluating Brevo, then you should be looking at least these four, in my mind. And this is probably the most common ones that you're going to see when people compare. So overall, from the Brevo perspective, one of the things that you're going to find is the interface is very simple. It's almost like MailChimp. So that's why they are sort of next to each other, because we believe that if you are looking at Brevo, you should definitely be looking at MailChimp. Maybe Klaviyo, again, Klaviyo is slightly more enterprise tool. Constant Contact could be comparable as well. But then HubSpot is probably going to be a stretch if you're comparing. But if you are going to be in B2B, then that's probably the right fit. So in terms of the order, in terms of the priority, you should be looking at Brevo, MailChimp, and then finally all three, depending upon how many you want to compare. Now, here with Brevo, you are going to find out-of-the-box integration with the major e-com platforms. We have validation for that. But some of the use cases, because with MailChimp, one of the things that we had discovered when we were reviewing their historical stories, that they have very tight alignment with Shopify. Shopify is also an investor in Klaviyo. So obviously right now, at least, Brevo is probably not going to be the go-to recommended platform. And you need to understand how these political dots connect because they are sort of going to deals together. So you need to understand that. So obviously Brevo right now, as far as our understanding goes, they are not as aligned with Shopify. So if you are Shopify, they are probably going to recommend that go for either MailChimp or Klaviyo. They are probably go-to platform. Brevo, if you want, that's probably going to be a third choice. And based on this, strategy, their integrations are going to be weaker as well. So sometimes when they recommend, obviously they are going to have tight alignment overall from the tool perspective if you care for these two. But let's say if you are in a different ecosystem, it could be a different dynamic, different politics altogether. But that is something to keep in mind. Here, one of the advantages that you are going to find is their cost is going to be friendly for B2C companies. For B2C, the volume of email that you need to do is going to be tremendous. Again, these are not same workflow, because for B2B, your workflows might be complex. The kind of content that you need to share, you might not have those capabilities in B2C. So again, these two are completely different play. For B2C, Brevo is probably going to be the right fit. The cons that you are looking at from the Brevo perspective, CDP is probably not going to be as comprehensive as what you are going to find with Klaviyo. That's why Brevo is more of the SMB sort of tool. Klaviyo is mid-market to enterprise, I would say. A lot of large brands use Klaviyo. So if you're looking for very large solution, sometimes that could be difficult to use. You are looking at much higher implementation cost. So you need to look at all of this when you are comparing these two. Again, you might not find as many layers, but depending upon how many layers you are going to use, if your use case is simply send some bunch of emails, you can use pretty much anything, but you might be overpaying with Klaviyo because you are probably not going to be utilizing those advanced capabilities or the advanced workflows that Klaviyo is going to support. So again, that is something that you need to review as well. Overall, I guess the ideal positioning for Brevo, at least in our mind, would be that if you are slightly more price sensitive B2C companies, sending a lot of bulk emails with just basic workflows, then that's probably going to be a right fit for you. Again, it's a very similar positioning as Mailchimp. Mailchimp does a little bit of business in B2B as well. So B2B, B2C, but very similar positioning. Overall, I guess from Mailchimp perspective, the only differences you are going to find is Brevo has acquired a lot more tools Mailchimp has built in. So sometimes that user interface could be slightly friendlier, I would say. Here you are going to find this as more of the integrated add-ons. So you sort of, and again, for marketing automation, it's probably okay. The experience may not be as disruptive. If this were more of the transactional application, then you would probably have a lot more challenges from the data integrity perspective. But overall, Brevo was not natively baked. A private equity company tried to acquire a lot of platforms and tried to make it bigger. That's how Brevo is done. But Mailchimp, obviously, that is all designed from scratch. It's a much heavier development, I would say, that is done from scratch. So that's one differentiation between these two. Yeah, I mean, the B2B scenario is probably going to be similar for both of them, Brevo and Mailchimp. The data model is going to be flatter and weaker. So for B2B, these might not be the best fit unless you have super basic needs, then it's a different case. They might work. But overall, the hierarchy that you're going to find from the customer model perspective, the kind of pipelines that you need to do in B2B, they are going to be very different. Now, touching on Klaviyo from Brevo's perspective a little bit, overall, this is going to be slightly more enterprise tool. CDP is going to be much more, heavier. I think I already mentioned that. They are going to have much tighter alignment with Shopify just because of their go-to-market strategy. They are probably going to be recommended by Shopify. The con that you're going to find with Klaviyo is it's probably expensive. That is one of the things that you're going to notice when you are looking at their reviews. And again, Klaviyo is also not for B2B, so that's very similar to what Brevo and Mailchimp is doing. From Klaviyo perspective, the overarching positioning is going to be still, and they are very clear about their priorities. When we reviewed them, they were like, okay, we only do retail, we only do commerce, we don't do anything else. Okay, we might do a little bit of media, but that is also very consumerized space. Our focus is very limited in terms of what we are able to do, and our product is going to be evolved based on those priorities. So they are very clear. Active Campaign, when we reviewed, they were not as clear. Brevo, Mailchimp definitely sells in both verticals, I would say. But again, they are more B2C, overall from their data model perspective. Touching on constant contact a little bit from Brevo perspective, again, this is going to be very similar as well. It's probably going to be a lighter platform than Brevo in my mind. Constant contact, MailChimp, they are fairly similar. MailChimp may have much higher valuation in my mind. I don't know where we are with constant contact. We don't have their valuation, how well they are doing overall from the market share perspective. But they are fairly comparable. Constant contact is also utilized by a lot of startups in my personal experience. Yeah, so if you're really cost sensitive, then constant contact is probably going to be a go-to platform, and that is why companies use constant contact. Now ActiveCampaign has changed their pricing, so now for companies that are going to be super sensitive on pricing, they are probably going to go for either MailChimp or constant contact or Brevo right now, even though they are owned by private equity. And that is one of the force that we have, that whenever any company gets acquired by private equity, they generally revise their pricing. That's what happened to ActiveCampaign. They are trying for Brevo as well. They have aggressive goals overall from the revenue perspective. So it's going to be interesting whether they are going to increase their pricing as well. But right now it's friendly. HubSpot, again, it's slightly more outlier, I would say, in comparing with Brevo. So this is going to be primarily for companies that care for slightly more content centric workflows, as well as for the omnichannel traceability from the upstream marketing perspective. And HubSpot is also going to have one of the busiest ecosystem, the integrations that you're going to find, at least from the data vendor perspective, as well as from the upstream marketing, any sort of ad exchanges. That's where you are going to find a lot more. HubSpot, you will not find those with your B2C centric platforms. CDP, I don't know, there might be integration. I mean, depending upon, some platforms are going to be all over the place, so you might be able to find that. But if you try to utilize, that's probably going to be a misfit. And HubSpot does not have that natively. They have slightly different positioning. They have their CMS built as part of their platform, and the reason why it is built is because they are looking for the traceability from the content perspective from website. And if you don't have that tight closeness with your CRM, you are probably going to lose on some of those signals. The integration is not as fluid, as smooth, and that's why they have the CMS bundle. They don't have CDP bundle. So these two are two completely different play. I don't have anything else on this unless you guys have any comments. No? Okay. So now we are covering some of the historical stories. So here, overall, in terms of the year, so they have been in the market for some time. They started in 2012. So that's a decent timeline. I think everybody has fairly similar timeline. If you look at their competitors, number of customers, everybody has, hundreds and thousands of customers, because again, marketing automation pretty much everybody needs. That's probably going to be the first platform every startup is probably going to use. So that's why the number of customers are going to be higher in general. When they are going to have very high number of customers, what that means is the size of these customers are probably going to be more on the smaller side. So if you look at the number of customers for Brevo, you look at Klaviyo is going to have a little less, but again, the size is far more. MailChimp is probably going to have similar number of customers. ActiveCampaign is probably going to have similar number of customers. When you look at tools such as Breeze, now that is very enterprise grade tools. They might have 3,000 customers. I don't remember the exact number for the, but they are a very enterprise grade tool. So if they have lower number of customers, that does not mean that their market share is lower. It's just that the size of the customer and the deal is going to be a different one. This commentary is coming from 2023, and they have a very overarching goal. They are saying that they are trying to hit $1 billion in ARR by 2030. And I think that, I don't know where they got that number from, but for the most part, they must have this number, because pretty much every single marketing automation platform or the SaaS platform that we have in the market, even as small as YourMonday.com and Smartsheet, they all are hitting $1 billion in ARR. So that's the kind of, what is that benchmark, Dave, metric that these guys are shooting for. Nothing less than $1 billion, right?
Good to have goals.
Right, exactly. But I think these guys are going to do it primarily because of their pricing. Um, so here they have a new CEO, and new CEOs claiming that they are probably going to do it. Some more comments here. They are saying the US is the market where we are growing the fastest in the world, but we are only getting a tiny fraction of that market. Obviously everybody's trying to compete in that market, so you are not the only one who's competing. So I don't know if you're going to get that, but maybe because of your pricing, there is a possibility. Yeah, and they are looking to double their revenue share. I don't know where they are at least as of today. So this is comment from 2023. 2023, 2024, for the most part, they have been on a slower side. So I don't know how much they have done. So here some more comments. They are saying we bring the much needed CRM simplicity US customers need to easily onboard users with effective and personalized marketing engagements that deliver a rapid return on value in just a few clicks. Brevo's European heritage brings a refreshing mindset to both the B2C and B2B. Now they are saying both. So I think that's going to be a very similar positioning as your active campaign. North American market with a highly efficient solution that adhere to the ever-changing data privacy and security regulations. Data privacy, security regulations, great for Europe. Not too sure about the US, at least as of today. It might change with the new administration, but right now that's probably not relevant here. But seems like they are talking about that, but that's not probably going to be refreshing. That's probably going to be over bloated in my mind. Okay. Some of the customers that they have, I guess these are Care for, eBay, Michelin, and then we have so really large customers. I mean, these are like one of the most of them will be in Fortune 500, right? Dave, I believe. I don't know about Care for.
Who's that, Sam?
I have no idea.
Oh,
yeah, I have no idea. But my understanding is going to be most of these brands that are mentioned here are probably going to be in Fortune 500. These are their customers, right? I don't know if you are asking that.
Oh, the brands. Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, with marketing automation, companies may utilize 50 different tools, and that's completely possible. Each team may have their own preferences. So, if you have a logo, it doesn't mean much, to be completely honest. But it seems like they have a lot of logos. And they are saying 100 million ARR in Jan 2023. And yeah, so they are on a lower side in my mind. They don't have as much market share as your active campaign had much higher. If I remember, MailChimp had much higher than these guys. Okay, I'll keep going here unless you have any other comments. So here are some more. This is coming from 2023. So they are saying in 2022, the company onboarded 1 million plus new customers. So there's a little conflict. I don't know how, and sometimes it could be users. So I don't know what's going on there in that story, but seems like there's a little conflict there, overall with respect to the total number of customers versus new customers. Grew from around 550 employees in 2021 to over 700 employees. So overall, from the employee perspective, they are much smaller, but there is a possibility that they have much higher number of customers, just because email or marketing automation platform, they are very, very, very light in development. That's why this is okay. Now they are talking about 6 different acquisitions. Okay, and this is the acquisition that we were talking about, and it's completely okay in this particular space, to be completely honest, because the kind of integrations that you're going to have, they are going to be very lightly embedded. They don't have the same problems that you're going to find, for example, let's say in the operational spaces or in the ERP spaces. So integrating these platforms as an app might be completely okay. And that's why Shopify is so powerful. That's why your some of the CRM platforms are so powerful, just because they can bring these collection of apps, collection of partners, and they can create that experience. They can do embedded workflows, because again, you are not looking for transactional integrity. So there's a little difference between these two, and that's why it is okay. It might not be as okay, let's say, if you are talking about Infor, Epicor, or any other ERP vendors when they have acquired, because creating that what is that called, the streamlined experience. No, I'm looking for another word there.
The omni-channel.
Not omnichannel. I'm looking for one more. It's very not consistent. Okay, I'll probably come back to that later. But there's a word for that. That okay, you are looking for very synergistic experience, I guess. I don't know what that is. Okay, so here. So they are talking about Chatra, that is the messaging platform that they have. Matrilo, that is the marketing and sales analytics for e-commerce. So if you look at their acquisition trend as well, that is going to be slightly more aligned to B2C. And that's why we had mentioned that they are primarily aligned for B2C. Push Owl, that is the web push notification. It might not have as much relevance in B2B. It is only relevant for B2C. Again, going back to our understanding, and if you look at the acquisition story, it's very consistent that they are primarily B2C. Yodel.io, this is AI-based phone solution. Now, phone solution is going to be slightly more B2B. So they have that as well. So that's very interesting. Okay, then you have MeetFox. That is the video conferencing and scheduling solution. In my mind, that would be B2B. It would not be B2C. So they have done some acquisition related to B2B as well. So that's why it's very interesting. Now, Captain Wallet. Mobile wallet marketing provider. I would think B2C. That would be my interpretation. So they have acquired all of these. And I don't think we have seen something like mobile wallet before with any other CRM vendors. So that could be their sweet spot. I don't think we have seen the native sort of phone solution, and I don't know if it makes sense for a CRM company to acquire that. It's interesting because generally most CRM systems are probably going to be integrated with, I don't know, 50 different phone providers, telephony providers, because you don't want to tight couple yourself with a specific phone provider. So it might be interesting. That's why 90% of the CRM companies, they don't necessarily acquire that, but seems like these guys have done. So I don't know what they are looking to do there with that acquisition. Here they are talking about Sendinblue offers a full suite of digital marketing, customer service and sales service, including email, SMS, marketing automation, live chat, meeting coordination, CRM, and more. And again, when you look at things such as your live chat, that's going to be slightly more B2C experience. But overall, if you look at their bucket, they are simply aligning that sales, marketing, customer service. I don't see anything else here. Okay, some more comments. Here they are saying the platform empowering B2B and B2C businesses, e-commerce sellers and agencies to build customer relationships. So they have sort of spelled out that, okay, they are looking for B2B, they are looking for B2C, e-commerce sellers and agencies to build customer relationships through end-to-end digital marketing campaigns, transactional messaging. Again, transactional messaging, that functionality is going to be only relevant to B2C. Okay, so I don't know. That's why, I mean, we are seeing a trend here that, okay, this is probably B2C. It's not as much B2B. CRM, chat, marketing automation, unlike other marketing automation solutions built for enterprise level budgets and expertise, Sendinblue tailors it's all in one suite to suit the requirement of maybe SMBs, what they are trying to say there. But again, if you are going to have capabilities, most likely you are probably going to charge more. This is more of the lighter platform. That's why they are charging what they are charging. But again, depending upon what you need, if you need lighter capabilities, this could be a great platform. So then they are saying Sendinblue was founded in 2012, headquartered in Paris, and then 500,000 active users. That is something that we have seen at least 2 times. So that's probably the right number, for them. But here they are saying users, they are saying customers. So that could be confusing as well. Okay, so 2023 again. This is also their press release. So here they are saying um, today announced two new acquisitions. WonderPush, a fastest growing mobile app push provider, again B2C. Octalis, a powerful customer data platform provider. They have acquired that, but again, that CDP is not as heavy as what Klaviyo is going to have. The acquisitions strengthen Brevo's real-time interaction capabilities, and again, real-time pitch that we have seen with Klaviyo and Braze. The kind of real-time interaction that Braze is able to do, you will not be able to do that with Klaviyo or Brevo. So you need to keep in mind, depending upon what kind of real-time interaction are you looking for. Are you looking for real-time interaction on the video? When you are going to be some sort of media company, that's a very different interaction than simply collaborating with somebody on a commerce transaction. This is that. So make sure you sort of read between the lines in terms of what real-time interaction they are talking about. Okay, so with WonderPush and Octalis, they are saying that they have acquired 10 organizations. That's a lot. So they have been really busy, I guess, in the market in buying these companies. Okay, WonderPush is used by more than 5,000 customers, including global publishers such as PSG, Manchester City, Ubisoft, Kemper, and Volkswagen, right? So all of those are really large brands. And I don't know if I'm able to see any trend there, but they are calling them publishers, which is very interesting. So I don't know if they are going after media market, which is what Braze was really busy in. And based on this capability, maybe they want to go after that market as well. So this is very interesting too. And again, one of the unique things that they have mentioned is they are able to send roughly 350,000 push messages per second. That's a lot of messages. And I don't know how many orders you are going to get, Dave, even if it is going to be like $10.
Well, it seems like they don't stop. That's for sure.
That's a lot. That's definitely a lot. So, I mean, it has got some capabilities, which is very interesting. And that's how you should be assessing these platforms, because some platforms, they are going to say that, you know what, I can do push messages, but they can probably do 3.5 messages per second versus 350,000. So again, it goes back to design of the system for what kind of workload it is designed for. Some more brands here, but I don't really have much to add there, so I'll skip that. They have a little bit of loyalty, and again, loyalty layer you are only going to find in B2C segments. We have seen this with Klaviyo, if my recollection is right. Shrestha, I think you were in Klaviyo's session, Dave. I don't think you were there. No. Yeah. So we have seen loyalty with that. I think loyalty, I don't know if Active Campaign had that. I don't remember that. But
I know not. Yeah, unless something's changed, which it very well may have. But last look I had at Active Campaign, I don't recall seeing anything in that feature set.
Yeah. Thanks for the confirmation, Dave. Here, I'll keep going here unless you guys have any other comments. They are saying Brevo Commerce Suite, and here they are saying solutions and capabilities, and enables retailers and e-commerce companies to extend reach and push context closer to purchase with multi-channel campaigns. Again, this is a very similar pitch as your Klaviyo, so I don't see much of a difference there. Use automation to increase abandoned cart recovery, make product recommendations. And again, this is very, very, very similar to your Klaviyo, so not much difference there. Now, some things might be overstated here because that's going to be aligned to the CDP capabilities. So I don't know how much enriching they can do, but obviously everybody's using the same marketing copy, I guess. So you need to be careful there. Now they are saying unify online and offline customer data. Again, very similar pitch for CDP, but again, the number of layers that you're going to have are going to be far limited with Brevo, just because it's a lighter solution compared to your Klaviyo. Um, I don't have anything else to add here unless you guys have something. I'll keep moving. Okay, so now we are looking at their version of vendor comparisons in terms of what story they are telling, right? And we'll see if we are able to add anything here based on our assessment that we have done, across the sites, across their stories. We are comparing their stories, right? And trying to identify what is going on here. So here we have Brevo and MailChimp. So I mean, they have compared, but again, you need to read between the lines here because they might have compared only one specific pricing tier. Sometimes they could be different. So I don't know how much you can trust this, or if it is going to be relevant to you. But read between the lines, when you are looking at this. So this is just one tier that they have compared, and obviously it is coming from them as opposed to coming from an independent party. So again, you need to read between the lines. But there are certain claims that are right, to be completely honest. So we'll be touching on that. So one of the things that they have mentioned is MailChimp does not have transactional emails. Yes, MailChimp did not have that, if my recollection is right. This is only with Klaviyo, and now obviously you have with Brevo. So if you care for transactional emails, I guess with MailChimp you are probably going to require an add-on. So yeah, so obviously these guys are slightly better there, now depending upon whether you care for those or not. And this is coming from their acquisition, so I don't know how reliable and good they are going to be, but you might want to validate there as well. The whole HTML editor, I guess the comment that they have mentioned, they are saying that we have HTML editor for custom coded templates, and MailChimp does not have that. In general, when you look at the custom coded templates, that is slightly bigger capability, and you're going to find a lot more capabilities in general. But for example, let's say if you go to HubSpot, they are going to have that. They are going to have much richer capabilities. But for slightly more complex business models, even those are probably going to be limited for you. So here they are saying they have template for custom coded templates, but your MailChimp is not going to have. So again, if it is designed for slightly smaller customers, they are probably not going to have capabilities for that to be able to write that. And that's why lighter platforms are not going to have that, because that increases the complexity. So it seems like Brevo has that, but I don't know how detailed that is going to be, because even HubSpot is very limited, with that capability in my personal experience. Yeah, so here some more comments. They are saying that MailChimp phone support expensive, but chat one is very good. Yeah, but I mean, chat is pretty good in my personal experience. So I don't know if that is really a differentiator, but yeah. So I think I'm good on this, unless you guys have any other comments here. Some more comparisons. So here they are saying monthly send limit 5x of the contact year. That may not be enough for e-com. And these are for email campaigns. Here with HubSpot, they are saying it has 10x. HubSpot Starter has 5x. And here you can set roughly 1 million emails per month. And that's the kind of volume you're looking at. But when you are comparing it with HubSpot, HubSpot is a B2B platform. So number one, you don't need as many emails, to be completely honest, but HubSpot does get very expensive. If you are going to be sending those many emails. So that's why HubSpot is probably not the right fit for B2C use cases. So be careful there. And this is probably a fair comparison. But again, you are not comparing B2C versus B2B, and they are not spelling that out. So read between the lines. Number of workflows. So here Yeah, it's very interesting because here they are saying, HubSpot does not have that. HubSpot Professional is probably going to have up to 300 workflows. Then here you are probably not going to have any limit, right? They are saying unlimited marketing automation. But again, I think you need to pay attention to their fine prints. I don't think anybody can allow unlimited marketing automation workflows because they'll not be able to handle that load, in my personal experience. If they allow, everybody is going to have that. Even MailChimp has that. So I don't think anybody is going to have unlimited, but they're claiming that there's a possibility, but your instance might get slower. So, so be careful there. Yeah. The same thing goes for limits of segmentation. They are saying unlimited segmentation. Great. I don't know how long that is going to go, because if they are trying to get to $1 billion in revenue, how else are they going to get? If this is going to be acquired by private equity, they are probably going to put the limit. They are not owned by private equity. That's why they probably have this right now. It could be differentiation, but that could change overnight. With marketing automation platform, that's probably not a challenge, but with other platforms, it will be a challenge, but something to keep in mind. Landing pages. And with Brevo, they are saying one included, and they themselves are saying more as an add-on. Does not HubSpot Starter does not have that. HubSpot Professional has that. Again, landing pages are not going to be relevant to B2C, I believe. I don't know why you would have landing pages. That is more of the transactions, right? So that's why they don't have it. So again, I think they are comparing B2C versus B2B, so it's probably not the right comparison. Okay, so overall, I guess if you look at the pricing here, we have pricing as well. They are saying roughly what, 40,000 subscribers, and with Brevo you are probably going to pay 55, and with HubSpot you are going to pay $2,000, which is probably the right comparison, to be completely honest. It does get very expensive, HubSpot, but again, there is no comparison between B2B and B2C, so that's probably not the right comparison. Okay, so this is Brevo versus Klaviyo. So touching on some points here, especially pricing. I think that's going to be the major differentiator. So Klaviyo, we have already mentioned that that's probably a B2C platform, so the pricing is going to be much cheaper. So here they are saying 60,000 contacts. Brevo's pricing is going to be 55. Okay, and Klaviyo's pricing is going to be roughly what, 860. The other pricing was for 40,000 contacts, and in that HubSpot was roughly at what, $2,000. So Klaviyo is somewhere in between, and the reason why it is somewhere in between is because it's the enterprise grade platform, but it is designed for B2C. So that's the difference between pricing. B2B platforms, they are going to be slightly more expensive. Again, you are going to find a lot more integrations with B2C platforms. So in this case, you are comparing both B2C. So you're going to find Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Magento, PrestaShop, Shopware. Pretty much everybody's integrated there. They are saying that even Brevo is integrated with Shopware, but we know for a fact that Shopware is a very European platform. So that could be the reason why Klaviyo is not integrated here. But obviously Brevo has that. If you are going to be on that, I don't know how many companies are there on that. Transactional email and SMS, they are saying that Klaviyo does not have. Klaviyo has that. We have looked at their offering as well. They definitely have that. So maybe these guys need to update their marketing material. Other pre-built automation scenarios such as welcome, birthday, purchase. In my mind, I think Klaviyo is probably going to have that. So again, that might not be accurate there. Okay, so doing some more analysis of the overall product design. If you look at their product design, if you put side by side MailChimp versus these guys, it's going to be very similar. Very, very, very similar look and feel. There is virtually no difference. UX, ActiveCampaign has not as great UX. Klaviyo was one of the best in terms of UX. This is probably slightly more on the legacy side, and that's why pricing is also on a lower side. So again, you get what you pay for, I guess. yeah, in my mind, if you compare the UX, this is probably going to be comparable with ActiveCampaign. MailChimp has better, Klaviyo has better for sure. This is how your acquired functionality is going to look. So these are almost like apps, the way your Shopify apps are going to be. But the beauty with these platforms is that you can easily enable these, and it's probably going to be okay. I don't think you are going to have as much problems. So in this case, this might be okay, but this functionality is going to be natively baked with a lot of other platforms. So, but that's probably going to be a differentiation, because these guys have acquired and integrated these platforms and tried to make it look as if they are a complete suite, from the CRM platform perspective. But these capabilities are not natively built, so you might run into challenges there. Let's say if the data models are not necessarily aligned, the integration workflows may not be aligned, then you may have challenges there. Just assess that. 9 minutes right now. We have one comment. We'll touch on the comment. Okay, so Anders is saying very comprehensive review. I'm surprised in 2024 the HTML editor is not enough of a feature to get called out. So Anders, I think there are layers in that comment. I just want to make sure that we are touching on that to be fair with them. So I think what they are talking about is the custom coded action, and custom coded action overall, I guess, is a newer functionality, comes from AWS Lambda. I don't know. I think AWS Lambda was introduced in maybe 2015. I don't know how long ago that was. But it's fairly new capability, I would say. So the custom coded action is definitely new, and that's why newer platforms such as HubSpot has that. I think Pipedrive is going to have that. Zoho is probably going to have that. Now, if you ask Salesforce, because Salesforce has become almost legacy right now, they are probably not going to have that. So that's a real difference. But the differentiator is custom coded action, not necessarily HTML editor. Yeah. Okay, so some more comments here. This is also coming from product design. And here, if you look at the number of workflows, for example, let's say if we compare this with your MailChimp, I think MailChimp had a lot more, if I remember correctly. Klaviyo, definitely a lot. I mean, I would think that Klaviyo and MailChimp, they were at par in these automated workflows from Shopify, just because they are very well aligned with Shopify. So that's where you are going to find differences that these guys don't have as many, just because they are not go-to platform for Shopify. So that's going to be a differentiation here. They have a lot of triggers, but even these triggers, even for HubSpot, it gets very limited when you are enabling these processes for many different business models, complex pipelines, etc. It gets very tricky even with HubSpot. So this is going to be even limited. So that's why I call this as more of the prescriptive platform. Yes, you are going to have some customizability, but be careful. Be super careful in terms of what you are going to customize and how that is going to be coded. You really need to validate. Otherwise, once you sign the contract, you are going to find a lot of surprises. Yeah, so this is what the calling of the webhook is probably. This is not necessarily just the custom coded action. This is probably one of the type of the custom coded action. But here, at least you are able to utilize this functionality to be able to call the external app. That's how they have integrated all of those apps, and they are able to call pretty much every single app. And that's how they sort of hijack the workflow, give it to the next step, process that. They can hit the API of this system from there. The screen gets updated. So that's how this functionality works. Pretty much everybody's doing very similar things. Most modern platforms are going to have some sort of webhooks functionality, but again, you cannot do everything with that. So don't assume that you can create an ERP here. You would not be able to do that. And there are limits to what you can do with these things. Each of the webhook that you're calling, and again, these limits are not necessarily imposed by Brevo, that they are going to be imposed by whoever is hosting the infrastructure. For example, if this is going to be deployed on AWS, Google, or Azure, they are going to say that, hey, you make a call to my application, you are allowed 60 seconds. After that, I'm actually going to time you out. And this is the amount of data that you can exchange. So again, these things are very deep overall in terms of how they play. So those are the details that you need to know to understand whether this is really going to work for you or not. All of those integration flows are going to work for you or not.
The other big challenge with all of the integration pieces, Sam, just to tack onto your comment there is, a lot of people don't think through the kind of error proofing that's required. Like what happens when that webhook doesn't fire correctly? What happens when, and again, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. We don't even think about that
Yeah.
oftentimes. We don't even think about, what happens when. And that's how companies, especially one that's doing a lot of transactions or is trying to push through a lot of data in these automations. It kind of always cracks me up. You see people out here talking about all the tools and platforms available, lots of cool stuff,
Yeah.
right? But if we don't think through all of the what ifs and then build in redundancy to that, in those integrations, just because we can at a high level doesn't mean it's going to actually accomplish what the real goal is. It's like people get lulled into thinking like, oh, we can do that. And there's not been any real use case established, or has it actually been tested?
Yeah, and to expand on that comment, to be completely honest, okay, so technical folks can make certain assumptions and they are probably going to be okay, but they still need your business rules to be expanded. And sometimes, I mean, and not sometimes, most times, I have never seen business rules to be completely expanded to an extent that technical people, if they make any sort of assumptions, that is not going to have any impact on your business workflow. So that's where the major problem is, that you are not even providing your business decisions. Okay, what do you want me to do when this happens? Now these guys don't have MBA. They're poor guys trying to code here. They don't necessarily understand what you want, and they are simply going to make some assumptions, and then you are going to get what you are going to
Yeah. Yeah.
get. Okay. More follow-ups, guys. So we have 3 minutes right now. One more screen comments. If
Go
you guys
one
have
more if you want.
one more. Okay. If you have too many comments, then we'll skip.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So one more. So here, this is coming from user documentation. Here also you get a lot more details. So here they are talking about their folder structure, and they are saying folder allows you to sort your list based on common criterion. For example, if you manage several brands, you can create a folder for each brand, the green yoga and stretch and yoga. Now, with other platforms, you probably don't require this folder structure. The reason why they have this folder structure is because some of these detail layers are going to be limited, and because of that, they have to sort of create these custom arrangements. So again, you are going to hit into some of the sacrifices here. If you are going to use, I mean, it's great capability, but as such, it's sort of the shortcut ad hoc method, for the real segmentation that you're going to find with tools such as HubSpot. Then they have list as well, allows you to sort your contacts based on their interest. Similarities, lists are very common. There are going to be some subcategories. They have multiple pipelines. Generally, there are limitations with a lot of CRM platforms in terms of the number of pipelines. Sometimes it's going to be included with the next year. They have those crazy scenarios from the licensing perspective, and these guys seem to have that, which is, in my mind, is a slightly more strong capability. The structure is relatively flat. I would say they have the company and contact structure, but that is not going to be as detailed. For example, let's say if you look at HubSpot, they are probably going to have parent objects. And if you go to their communities, there are questions that are being asked about these detailed scenarios, and in most cases the reason why they are asking those questions is because they are utilizing this tool for a completely different purpose for which it was not designed, and now they are struggling, and the technical people are struggling as well because they don't know that this is probably going to be limited. So we'll stop there, I guess, and we'll open up for comments. Dave, do you want to go?
Yeah, happy to, Sam. I feel like I'm always a broken record when when I do one of these because it's about what are we trying to accomplish, what's the business use case, not specifically about the tool. There's certainly some interesting features with this. I think one of the takeaways throughout a lot of these, this one specifically, I would say more broadly in the CRM category, right? It's really interesting to try to compare some of these tools because you've got that traditional CRM functionality and you're trying to, as these platforms are expanding, trying to, include that marketing automation piece. And then you start to spider web out into all the other little random things, like the phone apps or what have you, right? And so it becomes challenging for anybody, let alone people that implement this stuff to kind of unpack and understand the feature set, which is, again, why I say I feel like a broken record, because none of that matters unless we've defined what the use case is, how the processes flow, and, kind of what's the input, what's the anticipated output. Right. So I'll pause there and kick it over to you and Shrestha.
Shrestha, do you have any follow-ups? Any comments?
I don't have any comments, but I have like a simple question. Like, when you compare a software like this with like the big ones like HubSpot or Mailchimp in the market, so what would you suggest that the people should compare as a criteria about when they compare with a big brand, company like that? So what should the businesses should actually compare about when they hear about names like that, and then they want something but they are not really sure?
Yeah, so great question. I'll give you the short version because we are limited on time right now. But
Yeah.
overall, I guess the reality is that with these software solutions, you need to go by the fit. If you don't go by the fit, then it's almost like, I call this process as more of the t-shirt sizing. Okay, if you are going to wear really large t-shirt, it's probably not going to be as comfortable. Whatever is going to happen to you psychologically, I guess. You know how that feels when you are wearing a really, either large or small t-shirt. It doesn't feel fit. And that's how you are going to feel with these things as well. In terms of comparison, Brevo versus HubSpot is very B2B. So if you are in B2B, then you probably need to go for HubSpot. Brevo does not have as many B2B layers. So definitely not recommended for B2B. For e-commerce, retail, that's where you are going to find this one. And MailChimp, startups and e-commerce, those two. So Brevo and MailChimp is probably going to be fairly comparable. Any more follow-ups?
No.
No? Okay. So if we are good, can we wrap?
Yeah.
Good? Okay. All right, guys. So if you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet at 2 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution. On that note, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today.
Thank you, everyone.
Of course.